Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Adda. So today in this video we are going to discuss about the difference between configuration and component annotation in Spring Boot. So if you are working on the Java and Spring Boot application, then this is a very crucial question for you. This is one of the interview asked question. So what is the difference between the configuration and component annotation? So everything we are going to discuss in this video today about these two annotations and their differences, and after that we'll try to practically create one Spring Boot application and try to see where these configuration are used and what is their differences in the practical implementation. So everything we are going to discuss of these two annotations in this video. Okay, so let's get started for that. So let me try to go to the next slide and show you the basic difference between both of the annotation. So in Spring Boot framework, both configuration and component annotations are used for defining beans and managing the application configuration, but they serve slightly different purposes. So the work of both of the annotations is to manage the beans or create the beans. So they both deals in bean creation, okay, but the purpose of creating the beans and the way of creating the beans is very different for both of the annotations. And there comes the difference between both of them. So we'll discuss that as well. So let me try to go to the next slide, and here let me try to explain you the scenario of configuration, where configuration annotation used and how we can use it. Okay, so configuration is a special type of Spring Boot annotation that is used to indicate that a class defines one or more beans definition methods. So basically, let's say you have created one class called app_config, and you want to define couple of beans inside that class. Okay, so that class should always annotate with configuration annotation. Okay, so when we are defining any class with configuration annotation, that means we are expecting bean out of that class, and once those beans are created, then this, these are these beans are assigned to the application context, and later on Spring manages those beans. Okay, so this is what is being told here is configuration is a Spring Boot annotation that is used to indicate that a class defines one or more beans definition methods. So when a class is annotated with configuration annotation, we means that this class holds one or more bean definitions. Okay, these methods are responsible for creating and configuring Spring Beans. So you can see, let's say we have created app config class, and this class is annotated with configuration annotation. That means this class, inside this class, we can define one or more bean method, and we are expecting bean out of this class. Okay, so that is what it is being told here. These methods, like let's say data source, are responsible for creating and configuring Spring Beans. When you mark a class with configuration, Spring treat it as a source of bean definitions and processes the method annotated with bean within that class to create the beans. Okay, so when a class is being defined with configuration, inside that we can define multiple beans, and those beans methods are expected to create the beans and configure that beans to the application context. Okay, so this annotation is often used to define complex or conditional beans creation scenario also. So yeah, when we are creating the beans inside this configuration class, we can simply create some simple beans. Okay, and we can also use this bean creation to create the conditional beans or the complex beans, like how we do in the case of JWT or security configuration, where the configuration of these beans are very complex or conditional. We can use configuration class, and inside that we can create the beans for the complex and conditional scenarios as well. I will try to show you one of the scenario where we are writing the conditional beans and the complex beans inside the configuration class. Okay. Okay. So now when you need to work with the third party classes also, this at the rate configuration annotation is being used, not at the rate component annotation. Okay. So these are the main things where we are using the configuration annotations. So remember that when a class is annotated with at the rate configuration, that means this class is expecting couple of beans method inside that. Okay. And those beans, when they are created, they are assigned to the application context, and Spring manages the beans life cycle. So this is about the configuration annotation. Now let me try to go to the next slide and discuss you about the component annotation. So now coming to the component annotation, this annotation is a generic stereotype annotation that is used to mark a class as a Spring Bean. Okay, so this is a stereotype annotation. So what is the stereotype annotation? There are three different stereotype annotations like repository, service, and controller. And those three stereotype annotations are coming from the component itself. So those three stereotype annotations uh, are basically used for the particular purpose. They are working like a component annotation only, but they are defined for the particular class for the particular work. Okay, so let's say at the rate controller is defined where we are exposing the REST endpoints. At the rate service is defined where we are using the service, where we are writing the service logics, and at the rate repository is defined where we are writing the database logics. So this component is a generic stereotype annotations that is used to mark a class as a Spring Beans. So when a class is annotated with at the rate component annotation, then automatically the beans for that particular class is created and assigned to the application context, and everything is managed by the Spring itself. Okay. So when the class is annotated with at the rate component annotation, it indicates that a class is a candidate for auto detection and instantiation as a Spring managed beans. Classes annotated with at the rate component are automatically registered in the Spring context and can be injected into the other component using dependency injection. So whenever a class is annotated with at the rate component annotation, then we can directly auto wire that class component class reference in the others classes and use it. Okay, it is a convenient way to create simple beans without need of extra configuration. So this is a very basic and simple way to define a bean or to create a bean out of a class. Okay, now you can see here is the code. Let's say this user service is a class, and when we annotate this class with at the rate component annotation, that means automatically Spring Boot creates the beans for this class and assign to the application context and manages the life cycle of that bean. And wherever we want to use the reference for this user service, we can directly auto wire the reference of that user service in the particular classes where we can use it or where we need to use it. So this is about the component annotation. So basic difference between both of them is at the rate configuration annotation is used for the class where we are writing beans method inside that class, and at the rate component annotation is used for the class where we want to create the beans of that class, and everything is automatically done by the Spring Boot itself. Okay, now let me try to go to the next slide and summarize the things. So in the summary, the main difference lies in their uses and the purposes. At the rate configuration, use at the rate configuration when you want to define beans using bean methods in a configuration class. Okay, this is suitable for more complex beans configuration like we discussed about the security configurations. I will try to show you that scenario as well. And conditional bean creation and the scenario where you want to fine grain control over the bean creation process. So where you want to take the control of the bean creation, just use at the rate configuration annotation, not the at the rate component. Now, where is the use of at the rate component annotation? So use at the rate component annotation when you want to mark a class as a Spring managed bean. that is automatically discovered and registered in the application context. Okay, so this is a very simple way of creating the beans and managing it, because it is being automatically done by the Spring itself. So this is convenient for the simple cases where you want to just need to define a bean without much configuration. Okay, so it is worth noting that both at the rate configuration and component annotations are the meta annotations, meaning they can be used as a part of custom annotations you create for your own use cases. Okay, so you can use both of the annotations in your custom annotation and create your own custom annotation according to your use. So this is the basic difference between both of the annotation. Now I will try to go to the IntelliJ and will create one Spring Boot application, and real time will see what is the use of at the rate component and at the rate configuration annotation in the application development. Now let me try to go there. So before going to do the real development, let me try to tell you what we are going to develop. So basically we are going to develop a Spring Boot application which will be managing the product related things. That means we are going to develop a Spring Boot application for the product management where we will cover the basic CRUD operations like create, read, update and delete. And there I will try to show you what is the use of at the rate component annotation and what is the use of at the rate configuration annotation, and then we'll try to bring out the basic difference between both of the annotations. Now when we are going to show you the use of at the rate configuration annotations, I will also try to show you how to write the complex bean configuration for one of the scenario where I have written for the JWT configuration. So everything will discuss. Now let me come out of this PPT and try to go to the IntelliJ. And here you can see I already have opened the IntelliJ. I am using the IntelliJ Ultimate version so that I can directly come here to this file and create a Spring Boot application. So you have to go to the file, new and project, and here you will find the Spring Initializer option. If you are not using the IntelliJ Ultimate version, you can directly go to this site, Spring Initializer, and from there you can create your own application and then download it, extract it out, and then open in a IntelliJ or any editor. Now let me try to create the application here. So let's say application name is component versus configuration. Okay, now let me select it as a Maven and go next. So I'm going to use the Lombok, I'm going to use the Spring Web. I'm not going to use the MySQL database and all because it will take much time, and I will try to use a list where I will try to insert couple of product related things, and from there I will fetch out all the product related things, and if you want to update, then update the list as well. So that is what we are going to do. So we are not going to use a database, we are directly going to use the list that I'm going to create. So these two starter dependency I need as of now, Lombok and Spring Web. Now create the application and open in a new tab, wait for a few seconds. Once it is configured, we can start the development. So basically we are developing the product management application. So first of all, I will try to create the entity called product, and then we'll try to develop the DAO layer for that. We'll develop the service layer, and then we'll develop the controller. And while developing those things, we'll come across the component and configuration annotation. So open the source main Java, and here let me try to create a class called product entity. Okay, so product, and let me try to put it in the package called entity. So yeah, and in the product, let me try to create couple of attributes here. So let's say private int id, private string name, private double price, and private int quantity. Okay, so those four attributes I have written here for the product, and let me try to annotate it with at the rate all argument, no argument, and at the rate data. So that's its all argument, no argument constructor are created, and data annotation is for the getter and setter and toString. Now let me try to create the DAO layer for it. So go to the new, and let's say it is DAO dot product DAO. Okay, so now let me try to annotate this with @repository annotation. So this repository annotation is one of the stereotype annotation which is coming from the component annotation. So we'll go inside this. You can see this @repository annotation is coming from the @component annotation. Okay, so here you can see we are going to use the component, or what you can say we are using the repository annotation. So at the place of repository annotation, you can use component annotation as well. So consider this repository annotation as a component annotation. Okay. Now let me try to create the list here. Okay. So private final. Okay. Private static final. And let me try to create the list. Okay. List of product. Let me try to import the list. And let's say the list name is product list, or you can say products. And let's say its implementation is array list. Now I will try to create one method which will be returning the list of product. Now before going to write that method, let me try to tell you one scenario. So we are going to use @post construct annotation, and we'll create one method which is annotated with @post construct, and inside that method we'll try to insert couple of products in the product list. Okay, so that method is annotated with @post construct. That means when the application it starts, that method will be executed and it will load the couple of product in this product list. Okay, so let me try to do that. So let me try to use the post construct, and let's say the method name is private void int init, something like that. And here let me try to create two products here. Okay, so let's say product p1 equal to new product, and let me try to put couple of records here. So let's say product ID is 1 and name is mobile, and let's say the price is 30,000, and let's say the quantity is 1. Similarly, let me try to create the p2 ID. Will change, let's say it is laptop, price is 66,000, 1 ID is 2, and let me try to make it p2. Now I will try to insert these two products in the product list. So we'll access this product list, this dot product list, and then add p1, and then this dot product list add p2. So we have added both of the product in the product list. So when the application starts, this list contains these two products. Now let me try to create that method which will be returning the list of products. So the return type would be list of product, and let's say it is get product list, and let me try to return this dot product list. Okay, so we are good now. Now what is the purpose of this @repository annotation? So consider this @repository annotation as a component annotation. Let me try to replace it with @component annotation. So now what the purpose of this @component annotation? So you can see this class, when it is annotated with @component annotation, that means the bean of this class will automatically be created and assigned to the application context, and application context will try to manage that beans life cycle. Now wherever you want to use the product DAO reference, then you can directly auto wire it because its bean is already created and we can use it wherever we want through auto wiring. So let me try to use it. So once the bean is created, we can use it anywhere, right, to call these methods. So that is what we are going to do. So let me try to create the service layer here. So service dot product service, and now what I'm telling you is the product DAO is annotated with at the rate component annotation. That means its bean is created, and now we are going to use that bean in the product service. So I'm using auto wire, and now I'm creating the reference or the bean for this product DAO. So product DAO, product DAO. Now let me try to enter it with this class with at the rate service annotation. So we have auto wire the product DAO here, and now let me try to use it. So let me try to create one method which is returning the list of product from the service. So product get all products and return product DAO dot, what was the method? It was, let me try to go there to the product DAO, and the method was, let me try to make it public first. So public get product list. Copy this, come here to the product service and then call it. Let me try to make it, import this, and why we are getting this, remove this thing. Now let me make this method as a public itself, and let me try to show you the scenario. Okay, so in this product DAO we have created one list, and we have created one method which is returning that list, and that list containing these two products already inserted in it, which is mobile and the laptop. Now this class is annotated with at the rate component annotation, so it means that its bean is being created and assigned to the application context. Now wherever we want to use the beans of this, then we can directly auto wire it, and that is what we are doing here in the product service. Because the bean of this product DAO is created and assigned to the application context, we can use it wherever we want, and that is what we are using it here in this product service class. So we are auto wiring that bean of the product DAO, and with the help of that bean we are able to call the method inside the product DAO, which is get product list. That means the bean is being created successfully. Now in order to call this get all product method of the product service class, we need to create the bean of this class, and that is why we need to annotate this with at the rate component again, or the service is also from the component itself. So if you'll go to the service, you can see this is coming from at the rate component annotation. Now go to the product service. Either you can annotate this class with at the rate component or at the rate service. So let me try to annotate it with at the rate component annotation. So now what is happening? We have annotated this product DAO with at the rate component annotations, and its bean is created. Now we are using that product DAO in the product service by auto wiring it, and now we have created the annotated this product service class with at the rate component annotations, so that we can create its bean and we can use wherever we want. So now we have to develop the controller layer, and there we can use this component product service reference. Okay, so let me try to develop that and then we'll show you. So either you can create a package controller, and there you can create the product controller. So are you understanding the use of this component? This component annotation is used to automatically create the bean for this particular class, and we can use it wherever we want. So both of the time we have used it at the uh, place of product DAO class and also at product service class. Now we are going to use here at the rate REST controller, and inside the REST controller if you'll go you can see it is coming from controller, and if you'll go inside the controller it is coming from the component. So this REST controller is also a kind of at the rate component annotation with the other features as well. Now I'm going to auto wire the product service reference here. Okay, and with the help of that I'm just going to create like with the help of product service we'll call the method inside the product service. So I'm just going to create as of now a API which is returning the list of products, and let's say it is list of product. Let me import the list here. Return product service dot get all products. So how we are able to use this get all products method of the product service? Because the product service is annotated with at the rate component annotation, so its bin is created and assigned to the application context, and wherever we want to use that bin we are using it. So we are using that bin in the product controller through the auto wire. Once it is auto wired we can use it to call the method inside it. That is what we are doing here. Now if everything works fine, that means the bean is created with the help of at the rate component annotation and we are able to use it. Now let me try to run this application and try to hit this endpoint to show you if it is working fine or not. If it is working fine, that means at the rate component annotation is fulfilling its purpose of creating the beans automatically. Now just wait for a few seconds, let it up. So you can see our application is up on the port number 8080, and if we go to the postman, let me try to use 8080, and then what was the API? It was products. So provide products here and hit enter. Now you can see we are able to see these two products which we have inserted in the list. If we'll go to the list to the DAO layer, here in the post construct, what we are doing, we are inserting these two products in the list, and that is what we are returning here from the get product list method of the DAO layer. And this method we are calling inside the service, and this method, the service method, we are calling inside the controller. So we are able to access the list of product. How? With the help of this at the rate component annotations we are able to create the beans for these classes, and with that beans we are able to access their methods. So if everything is working fine, that means this component annotation is creating the beans for these classes and assigning to the application context, and once it is assigned, wherever we want to use it we are using it through the AutoWare. Okay, so all the things are working fine, and this is the purpose of at the rate component annotation. Now let me try to explain you the purpose of at the rate configuration annotation. So before going to explain you that thing, let me try to show you one scenario where I have used the configuration annotation. Now let me try to open that project. So Spring Boot JWT. We were discussing the differences and their uses. We came across that this configuration annotation is the annotation, the class level annotation, which is expecting multiples bean method inside that class, and it is also used to configure the complex beans, right? So here in the Spring Security we are using that configuration annotations to configure that class and we are writing couple of beans which are very complex, and that is what I want to show you here. So you can see we have this config package, and inside that we have written this security config. If you'll come here, you can see this class is annotated with @configuration annotation, and you can see multiple bean methods we have created here, like this bean method. So this bean method, inside that bean method, what we are doing, we are uh, writing this security matcher, which where we are providing the API which we want to write in the security matcher, okay, and want to authorize for all, permit all. So this is a very what I can say complex bean configuration. So this @bean annotation is used to create the bean for this, and this is put inside this config class which is annotated with @configuration annotation. So this is what we were discussing in this PPT. Here you can see this is suitable for more complex beans configuration and conditional bean creation, and this is one of the scenario. Okay, now let me try to go to our project and try to create a class and annotate that class with @configuration annotation, and try to create one bean out of that class and try to use it somewhere. Okay, so let me try to do that. So let me try to create one class called product config, and let me try to put it in the package called config. So we have created this package, and inside that we have the product config class. Now let me try to annotate this with @config configuration annotation. Now what we have discussed is when a class is annotated with @configuration annotation, that means it is expecting couple of method which are creating the beans. Okay, so let me try to create that method here and annotate that method with @bean annotation. This is not the same as how we are using component annotation, and directly or automatically we can say the bean is created and wherever we want to use we can use it, but this is not the case for the product config. Now let me try to create one method called which is returning the product. Okay, so here we are creating a method to return a bean of product. Okay, so let's say public which is returning the product, get product, and return new product, and let's say the product inside the product. First of all, let me try to import the product here. So we are returning a product with the ID as 3, and let's say the name of product is tablet, and the price is, let's say, 40,000, and the quantity is 1. So what we are doing inside this class, we are creating one bean method, and that is returning a bean of product. Okay, and this product is having the ID as 3, name as tablet, price is 40,000, quantity is 1. Now what is happening is when the class is annotated with @configuration annotations, then it will expect at least one method inside it which is returning a bean, and that is what we are writing here. Now let me try to go to the product controller and try to auto add this product config class here. So private product config, sorry, let me try to auto add the product here, and let me try to create one API which is just printing the product. Okay, so let's say product config, and this is doing nothing. This is uh, let's say simply returning the string, something like get product config, and we are just printing out the product here which we have auto add here above. and let me try to return some string here. Let's say product config is working fine. Now let me try to hit this API and then try to show you what it is doing and how the configuration class annotation is working. So let me try to rerun this application and try to show you. So our application is up, and let me try to go to the Postman and try to hit that API, which is product config. Now you can see this string is coming, which is product config is working fine. Now if you'll come here to this console, and downside you can see uh, whatever we are printing as a product, it is coming here. And here you can see the product ID is 3, name is tablet, price is 40,000 and the quantity is 1. This is the product that we have put here in this bin. Okay, so that means this product is coming from this bin. Now what is being done here? So this class, which is annotated with @configuration annotation, is expecting one or multiple bean out of this class, and we have created one bean here, and it is returning the product. Okay, now what is happening when this class is returning this bean, then this bean is being assigned to the Spring Boot application context. And when we are auto wiring a random product reference here, that bean which is assigned from the application context by this product config is being picked up, and that is what we are logging here. That is what we are able to see in the console, and this is a simple string that we have put here, which is saying that product config is working fine. So this is the purpose of product config. Its purpose is when we are annotating any class with @configuration annotation, then it is expecting at least one beans out of it, and that bean is being assigned to the application context, and wherever we want to use it, we can use it. Okay, so this is about the difference between component and configuration annotation. If you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.